Hello, I'm JumpSplat120, and first might I apologize for the reverb in the room. It's a new recording studio, and I'm going to do my best to fix that. Second, might I apologize for my sniffly nose and sore throat. I've been a bit ill. Anyways, I had somebody request of me to make a tutorial on Let's Plays. Essentially, he wanted a start to finish on how to make a video, and since that isn't something I can easily or succinctly explain over text, I decided to make a video. This video assumes you have no knowledge of how to make an LP. At all. Like, literally none. So, we'll start from step 1. Step 1. Hardware. Do you have a computer that is good should be your first question. Just because you can play a game doesn't mean you will be able to play it and record the game at the same time. Recording a game can take a bit of a processing power, recording audio can take processing power, the game takes processing power, and suddenly your game of Crisis, that was running at 30 frames per second, won't go past 10. So, you will need a good computer. Not super good, but it needs to be good enough to play said game you are planning on recording at about 60 frames per second. That's a rough guesstimate, but if the game is 60 frames per second or above normally, you should have no problems recording the game. If you do, you're either going to need more RAM, a better graphics card, or a better CPU, although probably not that last one, but it does play a role. Next in hardware is hard drive space. I highly suggest a hard drive that is external or a separate hard drive from the one that you have all of your main junk on. If you have your recording software on C and your game is on your C drive and your audio recording is on C, then your C drive will be fed up with all your shit, and it also might not be able to keep up with copying all of the footage from your screen down into an MP4 or AVI file either. Plus, if you record losslessly or close to, you are going to end up with some big video files, like gigabytes big. An hour's worth of footage for me is about 29 gigabytes, but that's just 1 hour. Depending on the video, that can only be 2 or 3 episodes. It might even be just 1 episode, like Race the Sun was. So if you can fill up a drive very quickly. It shouldn't be too much of a deal though, because memory, RAM or hard drive memory, is very cheap nowadays. The last piece of hardware you need is a microphone. I say need because some people like to record their faces for Facecam, but that's not necessary for a Let's Play, whereas your voice kinda is. So microphones. If you have a microphone already, good. If not, and you don't feel like spending money, look around. You can jury rig up some good mics if you aren't into spending money for what might just be a hobby. I once saw a guy on the Let's Play subreddit whose mic was a Rock Band microphone in a cup with a sock as a pop filter. When I first started, I used the mic that was part of my Microsoft LifeCam. It's essentially a webcam. Audio quality is a huge thing, but you're going to want to make a few videos first and see how they turn out before laying down money for a blue mic or an XLR. If you do feel like spending cash though, a blue mic is a good starting point, and they go for about 60ish and up. Also, a pop filter. They're cheap, about 10 bucks, and if you get an actual mic, then get a pop filter too. They make your audio sound like this. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? Versus this. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of blah, fuck it. They also extend the life of your mic. Otherwise, use a sock. I'm completely serious. So, to recap for hardware. A good computer, a large hard drive, about 500 gigabytes or more, a microphone of some sort, and a pop filter / sock. Step 2. Software. First, video recording software. There are a million different ways to go about this, so I'll go over the 3 most used ones, or 3 most used as far as I can tell. Bandicam, Fraps, and DxStory. Most people have heard of Bandicam and Fraps, and functionally, they are pretty damn similar. Fraps is so simple, it only has about 10 options total, I think. Bandicam lets you record areas of your screen, which is really helpful for web browsers, or how to install tutorials, or whenever you're not actually recording a game. If you are recording an actual game, though, I suggest Fraps or DxStory. DxStory most people haven't heard of, and those who have heard of it are usually scared because there's so many buttons. It's really kinda simple once you actually read all of them though. The first page doesn't do jack as far as I can tell. You'll never need it. The second page is all the options for that little FPS number, where it is, what color it is, etc. The third page is where you are recording to. You can select where you want your videos saved to on this page. However, it also has the convenience of being able to put more than one option in at a time. So if you need to record in one folder, but then need to change it for some reason, no need to use the file browser or type it in like you would on Fraps. Just check the box of the place you want it saved in. It also has a nifty function to tell you the write speed of said hard drive. This is helpful if you don't know the write speed, you'll be able to tell which hard drive is faster. To be honest, faster is better, but I have one hard drive at 51 megabytes per second and one at 57. I think my main is 57, whereas my external is 51, but I can't tell a difference between both of them, so I'll just say anything above 50 is probably fine. Scan your hard drive and check before you start though. If it's too slow, that might be why the game isn't running quite as fast, or recording, or something technical jargon. Next page is key bindings. What starts it, what stops it. Next page is the fun page. You can choose a codec, change the scaling or the size at which you want to record. A lot of people record a lot of different ways, and if I remember, I'll put it in an annotation or in the description. There is a link to a page that shows a good overall setting for recording games. Personally, I use the Lagerth lossless codec because it's essentially what you see is what you get. What I'm seeing in-game is what will be recorded frame by frame, more or less. After that, you have audio. What Dxtory does that Fraps can't is record audio in different streams, which is very helpful for you if you're going to clean up said audio later. You can mess with your voice without messing with the game's audio. Personally, I have a different setup, and I'll get to that in a sec. Anyways, for this, you can have 41K, anything above this is essentially overkill. I use PCM. If none of this makes sense to you or you're really scared of it, try Dxtory out of the box first, and if it's not your thing, try Fraps. Fraps is very simple, but if something isn't going right, you're not going to have any feedback, so personally, that's why I changed to Dxtory. Also, the fact that Dxtory has more options makes me feel like I have more control over how the video is being recorded. I think Dxtory has a no-holds-barred 30-day trial, so you can actually use that before you decide which one you want to get. And yes, all three of these cost money. There's always pirating, but I don't suggest it. Bandicam is cracking down, and Fraps usually comes with a nice pre-packaged virus for you, especially if you're planning on making money from these videos. Help out them because they're helping you out. Now, audio recording. This is just how I do it, so some people may do it differently, but I use the free program called Audacity. Audacity lets me record my vocal track, and when I'm done, I can use some of the built-in functions to help clean it up. Now that I have my Snowball, it isn't quite a big as deal as it used to be, but I still do have my loud-ass computer next to me, and before this mic, I had that webcam mic, and so Audacity was a lifesaver. Some people say this ruins your audio, and I honestly don't believe them, but there is an option called noise removal, in which you can select a few seconds of noise and it removes that type of noise from the entire sound clip. This works really well if you have some sort of consistent buzz or hum in the background, like the fan from my computer, and you can't get rid of it otherwise. You also have a noise gate which silences the audio when it's below a certain point. For example, because I wasn't making any noise, even though my computer was humming, the noise gate said this computer hum is below this threshold, therefore it's going to be complete silence. You also have equalizers, you also have more simple things such as like, I want more bass, I want more treble, so on and so on. Personally, I suggest messing around with all these settings and seeing what makes you sound the best. I have a different voice, I have a different mic. What my settings are going to be aren't going to be the best settings for you. So mess around. Remember, at some points you may be really loud and at some points you may be really quiet. So I have a clip to work with that covered all the bases. Next, the video editing program. This is a huge one for a lot of people since most video editing programs cost bank, which most people don't have. Check your computer first. Do you have built-in software that might work? If you are truly and utterly broke and you aren't a pirate, try Movie Maker or iMovie, I think it is for Macs. If you are okay with laying down a little bit of cash, I started with Cyberlink Power Director, which is a lot like a really simple version of Vegas, and it's a million times cheaper. If you don't mind laying down a lot of cash, which I don't suggest if this is really your first time Let's Playing, or you're a dirty, stinky, filthy pirate, try Sony Vegas. For Vegas, you have to have a 64-bit computer though, so if you're running 32 for some reason, you're kinda screwed. Remember, these are just my opinions, so others might have different ideas or different video editing software on how this should be done, but if you want to tout how to do it your way, then make your own goddamn video. I'm showing you how I've done it for the past year and a half. So, recap on the software. You're going to need a video recorder, an audio recorder, and a video editor. If you're trying to record console games, this is not the tutorial for you. I have literally no idea how to do that. Step 3. Record a game. There are a bunch of different tutorials on how to do this, but it should essentially be start game, press record, play game. There are a few keynotes that you will need to know for this step though. And remember, this is just the technical information. I'm not going to go over how to be interesting or funny in your video. Just technical stuff. Now, 1. YouTube has an aspect ratio of 16:9. That means whatever you record in has to be a ratio of that. Those numbers you see, 48p, 720, 1080p, they aren't a quality thing, they're a size thing. 720p, for example, means that there are 1,280 vertical lines of pixels and 720 horizontal lines of pixels. The more pixels you have, though, the more details. Of course, bitrate also plays a part in that, but essentially, the higher the numbers, higher pixels, higher bitrate, the higher the quality. And that's a very simplified version, but this tutorial is for super noobs. So, the next thing is a game should be recorded at 30 frames per second minimum. Other people have, things to say about this. Oh, it should be higher than that. Honestly, if it's at 30 frames per second, it shouldn't be too noticeable. If it's lower than that, it can be noticeable. If it's at 30 frames per second or above, it's fine, but lower looks stuttery. So if you choose to record at a different, higher frame per second, just make sure you can consistently keep that frame rate. There's no need to go all the way up to 60 frames per second if you can't keep it consistently at 60. Next is make sure that you are recording your audio and have some way to sync the two up. You have to do this before you start recording, or otherwise you're going to have syncing issues later. A lot of people have different ways to do this, but mine is to record audio first, then count down like this. 3, 2, 1, go. And then I hit my record key as loudly as I can. Then I sync up that spike with the start of the video. Find your own way though, you might have a better idea than mine. And last, have a goal. Are you tutorialing? Are you being funny? Are you drunk? Whatever your goal is for your video, keep to that. If you stray, your viewers will stray in their attention. I think that's all in terms of actual game recording in the technical sense. But remember, if you have a question, ask it in the comments. If you don't, I can't answer it. Step 4, edit. Edit your video. Actually put effort into editing your video. I tend to use this term as a catch-all, but this is the point where you essentially go from a live stream, raw footage, to actual gameplay videos. For example, if you have empty space where you aren't doing anything interesting, cut it out. If you cough obnoxiously, mute it. If your mom walks in and talks to you for 10 minutes, jump to a different part of the video. If you see something that you didn't mention but you want the audience to see it, point it out with a visual of sorts. If you have extra narrative to add, do some post-commentary or add some text on the screen. Clean up that audio and watch through it a few times to make sure you didn't miss anything. This is the most time-consuming part, so if anything else, bar uploading times, takes longer than this, you haven't edited enough. It usually takes me 3 to 4 times the length of said video to edit it. 20-minute video? An hour or more. An hour of footage? 3 or 4. Don't forget to take breaks though, or you'll become tired and you'll miss really obvious things and you'll feel like an idiot later. Step 5. Export. I use AVI. Export it in the same size as you recorded it in, as well as the same frames per second. Other people will explain this better than I will, but just make sure the previous is in order and you should be fine. Same sizes, same frames per second. Step 6, to YouTube. This bit isn't quite a big of a deal if you're just starting out, or if you're doing it as a hobby. Plus, this is more about how to make the video, not how to promote said video or be interesting in said video, so I'll just keep it short. Tags are important, so tag accurately and as much as possible. A well-worded, well-formatted title catches people's attention, and a fancy thumbnail are the cover the book is judged by. Descriptions, while not often read, are a good place to link to any other social media you might be able to interact with your viewers with. I really hope I did cover everything. How to Let's Play is a very complicated topic. I'm subscribed to the Let's Play subreddit, and honestly, everybody has a different idea on how to do it the best. So follow the above, but use it as a guideline, and don't be afraid to experiment to find the best way for things to work for you. And if there are any questions, any at all, don't be afraid to ask them. I can't answer them unless you put them in the comments or bug me about it on social media. Love you guys. Jumpsplat120 out.